only smooth and
Is my working okay?
neat.
Yeah, that's all good. Oh yeah, that's very good. Hello everybody. Hello Ethan. How are you? Yeah. Okay.
So,
Rinpoche.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
are you introducing? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Just before I start the introduction, I'm just going to let you know where the fire exits are. So obviously behind you, the main door there, there's a fire exit here. We'll obviously move those screens very quickly if we need to. And there's a fire exit to this side as well. Also, the toilets are at the back of the hall, ladies and gentlemen. So hopefully that gives you some basic information. So, thank you everyone for coming this evening and joining us for this very special event. An evening of wisdom, reflection and dialogue between His Eminence Lelung Rinpoche and Professor Robert Thurman. Professor Robert Thurman is the author of numerous books on Tibet, Buddhism, art, politics and culture. A long-time friend of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, he founded Tibet House, US, at His Holiness's request in 1987. Professor Thurman has also been a close friend of His Eminence Lelung Rinpoche for many years. In 2013, he published A Drop from the Marvellous Ocean of History, The Lineage of the Lelung, Pemazepe Dorj by Lelung Rinpoche, a work that explores the lives of the Lelung incarnations. His Eminence Lelung Rinpoche was recognized by His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama as the 11th Lelung Tulku. He studied at Drapen Monastery in exile, where at the age of 24, he received the Geshe Tsongkhampo degree, one of the highest academic honours in the Gelugpa tradition and rarely awarded to one so young. In 1993, Rinpoche met the only living master who held the complete teachings of Dakini Sangpo Yeshe. Before they were in danger of being lost forever, Rinpoche received the full oral transmission from him. And to preserve and share this lineage, he founded the Lelung Dharma Trust in 2000. Today, Rinpoche divides his time between London, where he teaches and directs the work of the Lelung Dharma Trust, and Dharamsala, where he oversees the Lelung Lineage Preservation Centre and the project, the Gedung Pachakuche project. In 2019, he established the Lelung Dharma Centre in Harrow to further his mission of preserving and sharing these profound teachings, promoting peace and understanding throughout the world. This evening's programme includes several parts for those who are able to stay a little longer. Immediately following the conversation between His Excellency Lelung Rinpoche and Professor Thurman, we'll serve a delicious meal of biryani, vegetable curry and samosas. During dinner, there will be live music performed by two wonderful friends and supporters of the Lelung Dharma Trust, singer-songwriter James McCartney and Mongolian throat singer Victor Bat Eden Nedampa. Also, if you allow us a few moments, we would also like to share information about our project to extend and improve this house after the meal. These enhancements will give us more space to continue our work for the community and for the cause of world peace. And now, for the moment we've all been waiting for, please join me in warmly welcoming His Eminence Lelung Rinpoche and Professor Robert Thurman.
So speak very strongly.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So thank you. Shall I speak now?
Yeah.
Or you're going to speak first?
Okay, let me say it to
You first.
Otherwise, once the Bob starts, I will not have time to speak. Bob and I, we see each other maybe 40 years ago in Dharamsala.
Yeah, 40,
Yeah.
maybe 50. Oh, you were too young.
Yeah. So 40, because when I was in Dharamsala, receiving teachings from His Holiness Dalai Lama, and then Bob and also our friend Richard there, they both very come to Dharamsala and always attending His Holiness teaching. So we are Dharma friends since. And then later, when I was in 1994, I went to America to give some talk and UK and kind of a Dharma tour. So I was in New York, and we met there in New York, and then Bob was going upstairs in New York, and then he said, "Oh, I will drive you up." So I jumped on Bob's car, and we had a lengthy chat while he's driving. And as he understood that Lelung lineage is from Thurman, and then he was so passionate about Lelung, and I'm sure he knows before
Yes,
Lelung, but he realized that I was recognized as a Lelung. So then in upstate New York, Woodstock, and I was giving talk, and then at the time I can't speak English, and that I had Bob's student who was translating for me, and he couldn't talk. And then Bob kindly joined there, and Bob said he requested Bob to translate. So Bob translated for me, and we did well at the time. What was called that cafe?
Right?
The cafe, the cafe shop.
Oh,
Coffee shop that
I guess I don't remember.
at the time.
Exactly.
Anyway, so then Bob was very happy that we met, and then Bob also promised that if I was going to do 3 years retreat in his place, he will cover everything. So I'm still waiting for the time. He is ready. Last time I mentioned again, Bob said, "Are you serious? You coming to do that?" Anyway, I'm very happy that Bob is here. Last year or year before, he invited me to come to America to give some teachings, and that I did. And Bob saying, "Anytime in which you need me in England, I will come to do anything you want."
Yes, of course.
So Bob is here for us. So
Yes, it's so nice. So nice to be here when you're expanding things and doing so well. It's your community here. I think everyone here, a lot of you here might be a part of Rinpoche's Sangha or community. It's wonderful. And I have to say I love Rinpoche. There's no question about it. And what makes me think is that when his first incarnation, that is recorded, I think, whose name was Lotak Namkha Gyaltsen. Namkha Gyaltsen means the victory banner of space. And Lotak is the area of Tibet, which is down near where Milarepa came from, and so on, where Marpa lived, and so Lotak, southern Tibet. And whenever he would mention that name, or anybody would mention that name to the previous Lelung Rinpoche, His Holiness the Dalai Lama's senior teacher, and my also teacher when I was young, trying to be a monk, and then even as an ex-monk, he still was teaching me. And he particularly actually liked my eldest son. He was very fond of his Rinpoche, and Gamde. And anyway, he used to always go like this. Oh, he would go like that. And he would, very reverent, he would think about the Lelung incarnation line coming from Lotak Namkha Gyaltsen, whose picture is in that tanka over there. And some beautiful sculpture in those pictures on the wall over there. And the reason he would give why he liked him so much is that Lotak Namkha Gyaltsen, when Tsongkhapa was with 8 followers on a 5-year retreat in the 1390s, And in that 5-year retreat, they had done about 3.5 years of that retreat, and they had reached the point where they had visions of all 35 Buddhas of purification, they had visions of Maitreya, and it was incredible. And they took a kind of break from that retreat, and they went to a nearby temple, founded to the future Buddha Maitreya, where there was a famous Maitreya statue. And that statue would talk to people. It's a talking Maitreya statue, very ancient and holy in the Tibetan world. But it had fallen into disrepair. So Dzongkhapa and his 8 followers, they went to that place and they did some pujas, and they had some donors showed up and gave them a bag of gold, and they hired a whole bunch of artists who also magically came there, and they completely renovated the place and made it really beautiful. And during that time, over that part of Tibet, from there to the south, from this mountain area to the south, everybody saw like all kinds of like tankas in the sky. Things that used to happen in Europe at the time of St. Francis, but modern Westerners don't believe in that, but never mind. There were these group visions all the time, and Lhotak Nampa Gyaltsen saw those visions where he lived some distance away to the south. And then he realized that Dzongkhapa and his followers were something special, and so he invited them to visit him. And they all went there after that to visit him, the 9 of them. And luckily, this is where Lelung used to tell me this story. And when they did, they told him, oh, we're so gung-ho on the Dharma. We had great visions, we had realizations. We're going to India to do pilgrimage in the holy places of the Shakyamuni Buddha, Bodh Gaya and Sarnath and this kind of places. And he said, don't do that. If you go, there's no more Buddhists there much anyway. This is 1390. That Buddhists had pretty much been wiped out by certain invasions in India at that time. And a lot of you will get sick, and then your whole knowledge and everything will go to waste. Stay here in Tibet. So that is why they especially loved him, because he kept Dzongkhapa in Tibet. And then Dzongkhapa from 1395 or 6 until 1419, so in the 33 years, he did fantastic work, founded an old school that created all the lamas and the whole thing, and became majority school in Tibet, but never really being too mean for the other schools. And not at all. In fact, we've been reviving huge renaissance in Tibet from around, like the Renaissance, say 1400, tremendous renaissance. And so Lhotak Nampa Gyaltsen is credited with that, and so his reincarnation is very, very special, even though this one escaped to England. I don't know why. But it remains very, very special here, And then there is a further thing, actually, but you might even be shocked about yourself. I don't know that. But I have a dear friend who is a Tibetan doctor, and he's a Nyingma from Ando. And also he's a Dzogchen teacher. That some of you may have heard of Dzogchen, I think, maybe. And he said that Lhotak Nampa Gyaltsen also taught Dzongkhapa and his 8 disciples some Dzogchen teaching, which was not the usual school they had from Sakyapas and Kagapas at that time in founding the new school. And the Dzogchen thing has a sort of thing about the immediacy in the moment experience of enlightenment, like a kind of sudden thing, like a superpowered attainment, Dzogchen. Even though when the people teach it, they teach it to people and they go, oh, wow, fantastic. But they have what they call preliminaries. And then you can spend 5 lifetimes on the preliminaries. Usually. And wonder what they call it, it's a very long time. 100,000 this, 100,000 that, and Amrit, and Nagim, and I mean, it's incredibly lengthy. Even though it seems like a sudden thing, it still is long and gradual. But anyway, then I was wondering about that with him, and then he pointed out that I did a translation in Dharamsala in the 80s, I think, or even 70s even, where Life and Teaching of Dzongkhapa resulted in a book like that printed in India, which has been reprinted in the West by Wisdom. And the first book on that is a story about, is a thing from Lhotak Nampa Gyaltsen. which is in Tsongkhapa's biography, and in which, now when Tsongkhapa would receive teaching from Lojang Namkha Gyaltsen, he would perceive Lojang Namkha Gyaltsen as the actual Bodhisattva Vajrapani, who's kind of a little bit fierce one. He's blue, you're too skinny. He has a big belly, and he's like brandishing a Vajra. The Vajrapani is considered a very powerful type. So he's the power of all Buddhas. And then when he, Losang Gyaltsen, received teaching from Tsongkhapa, he would see Tsongkhapa as Manjushri, the Bodhisattva of perfect wisdom. And so they traded teaching back and forth. And so this particular thing that I translated is, Manju is Vajrapani telling Lojang Namkha Gyaltsen what to tell Tsongkhapa about how to meditate Dzogchen, actually. It's all the problems of Dzogchen and what happens when you have this and that, and you're trying to do it too suddenly, and you get this pain and that thing, and make this mistake and that thing. And I realized that it's right there in the record, actually, what he says about. So it had to do with this sort of special, wonderful thing that the Lelung Rinpoche therefore kind of represents, a little bit, but a little bit quietly, because they don't want to upset the more straight-laced Gelugpas. You have to be careful. And that is about the Nyingma thing. In other words, the fifth Dalai Lama was very connected, and the sixth Dalai Lama especially. And also the other place about the Lelung Rinpoche that is in this book of mine, which I wanted to introduce to you tonight, which I wrote with a co-writer over many years, and it's about the sixth Dalai Lama. And I don't know if any of you have ever heard about the sixth Dalai Lama. He lived from 1683 either to 1706 in his short life, or to 1746, which is quite a longer life. There's two different versions of when he actually died. And when the sixth Dalai Lama was carrying on, which was quite carrying on because he refused to remain a monk. And when I asked Dalai Lama about, should I do a historical novel about the sixth Dalai Lama? And he said, oh yes, great idea. And then I said, in front of there were witnesses present, and I said, you sure, Your Holiness, you want me to do that? Remember, he was a lover boy Dalai Lama. And so I said, oh, that's fine, we don't care about that. I have my ideas of what that was about. So it was like he came down from the palace, the Potala, which was like a giant mandala of Avalokiteshvara in the sky, of the Bodhisattva, the sort of Jesus figure, Buddhist Jesus Savior figure in this great Potala palace. He came down from that to join the people to be sort of earthy Tibetan. But at that time, the Lelung Rinpoche of that time was quite young, and his teacher was one of the most puritanical of the Buddhist teachers. And the teacher didn't like that. He really liked the sixth Dalai Lama, who was kind of a lay person and was a little more like a dashing young man about town in Lhasa at the time. But then the various monks, and it was a complicated Mongolia, Manchuria, Tibet, and politics. It's very dramatic, his story. And he has and the different ambiguities of his nature are there. But Lelung Rinpoche was the one in that generation who sort of was worrying about the monks being over monkish somehow, and reconnecting with the regular people and the lay people and so on, and who had a special female goddess teacher. I think was that the same one, the next incarnation about that?
Same.
What?
Same
one. But after sixth Dalai Lama had gone away, when he became independent of his teacher, that Lelung, she wrote some very special, little bit racy meditation texts. Very, very famous, very famous since then. So he was a real exception among the English, but Lelung Rinpoche didn't care. He loved the Lelung Rinpoche completely, totally, 100%. As do I, And I think it's wonderful that you are based in this beautiful place. Actually, you see, His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, has a special proposal or sort of commitment in his teaching. He's taught worldwide, as you all know, of course, and everybody who goes on Instagram knows he's like everywhere on Instagram nowadays, even though he's 90 and he doesn't travel a lot. but he's very present, anyway, in the world mind, as the one alternative person around all the war that is going on, all the stress that all of the societies are under with these warmongering dictators here and there, or pseudo-dictators, some of them. And, but he has a theory that in this age, that the Tibetan teacher, or himself, it doesn't necessarily mean about other teachers, but he himself as kind of the head of the Tibetan movement, let's say, he doesn't want to convert people to Buddhism. He says very firmly when he gives a lecture to foreign audiences, he says, if anybody is not a Buddhist, I want you to know that never in my life have I given a lecture about some Buddhist meditation, some Buddhist theory, some Buddhist science, some Buddhist cultural thing, with the motive of wanting to make them into a Buddhist, convert them. I have never had that motive, he says. And I don't agree with that motive. He said, in the modern period where there's all these different religions in the same country, the same city, everywhere, it is not correct that you make one religion the dominant one and everybody should switch to your religion. And he's told 4 popes, he's explained that idea to 4 popes who actually they agree to disagree, but so they're still converting until they must try to convert you. And the Muslims in India at least, and in Jordan and other Muslim countries where he's visited, Egypt, he had always said that it's too late in history, and if people believe in God, then they should let God convert people to be happy and to be religious and spiritual, and they shouldn't make the human institution compete with each other for market share, like they were corporations or something. This is His Holiness' theory. So that's why we have Tibet houses in different cities in the world. His Holiness wants that, although some people, even Tibetans, don't really understand why they have such a thing. They think you should just have Dharma centers, But your Peace Institute that you're making here, right, it's a little bit, it's like a Tibet house. Just the name is different. But it's like introducing to the culture, to the kindness, to the compassion theory, to the yogas, but not insisting that everybody become a card-carrying Buddhist. In fact, the Dalai Lama says everybody on the planet nowadays should keep their grandmother's religion. If they don't, grandma will be unhappy. But that doesn't mean they can't learn from the other religions and to how to be more spiritual. And after all, if Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, and the Sufis, the Taoists, the Hindus, whoever it was, it's even the secularists, even who worship Einstein, I guess, or whoever they worship. They worship Newton and Einstein. And if they all got together, the leaders, they would not be having a fight with each other. They'd be doing the love and compassion and tolerance and happiness and joyfulness and peacefulness with each other. Don't you think? It wasn't Jesus who said, I'm going to conquer the world and make everybody believe in me. He didn't say that. He just said, take the principle of love and be more powerful than the principle of anger and violence, and then you follow me, taking me in your heart, Sermon on the Mount, right? Right after Sermon on the Mount, he said to people, later when I'm in heaven, people will come to me and say, Lord, we did great deeds of power in your name, take us into heaven, and I will tell unto them, get thee gone, ye evildoer, you didn't follow my Sermon on the Mount. Jesus said that. So the conquering thing may have come from the Roman Empire, if you actually look into history, the dominating everybody into one theory. So anyway, that's the story. And I believe that the Lelung agrees with that. And this institution, I think, follows that line, and you start making it a world peace thing, right? And I'm going to, this poem of Rinpoche, I just found it, I didn't know about it. He said, on this round planet Earth, humans have all kinds of faces. Though they never look quite the same, please gently love one another. That sounds just like His Holiness. The various kinds of religion are for different patterns of thought. Though we may never unite them all, please gently love one another. He repeats that line. And His Holiness likes to say that the fact that there are different religions is because of human variety. And he said, what if every restaurant you went to only had the one one menu. Wouldn't that be boring? You go to different kinds of restaurants, there's different menus. And that's fun, you know? So it's okay that there are different ways of approaching ultimate reality, you know, whatever it might be. Actually, we have an idea of what it might be. And that's beyond any idea, actually. That's what's nice about emptiness. Over countless vast mountains and valleys, there are all kinds of countries and lands, though we may never be one global state, even though Mr. Putin thinks Ukraine is supposed to belong to Russia, perhaps not. Please gently love one another. How about that? Thank you very much. So shitepeace.org, that's your center's email thing, right? Lelung.org, then shite. Shite means peaceful and happiness. Peace and happiness. Shite peace, right? Thank you very much. Very, very nice. So that's my story about the Lelung and about your wonderful organization, you know. And what else, Rinpoche?
Well, thank
What
you.
shall I say?
Thank you for talking about program Nagaken-sen. As we are going to do this 700 years of program Nagaken-sen's
Yes.
anniversary.
For the 700th year anniversary, next
Yes.
2026,
Yes.
of the Lelung incarnation from the birth of the first one.
Yes.
But he himself was not, he of course was a reincarnation of somebody, but it wasn't a formal thing. Is that right?
Yeah.
Whatever his previous life had been.
He in his biography there were many other incarnations. He
Well,
counted.
of course, but I mean, he
60.
count the first one as that one.
We are counting. That's the first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, everyone, you know, even Dalai Lama, first Dalai Lama was reincarnation. Many people live all the way back to India.
Yes.
Actually, you know the famous joke by Losam, not Tarchin, what's his name? I forgot. He was a Ganden monk who taught at the University of Virginia. You know the famous thing he said? It was famous in my circle about being a reincarnation. You know that? Did I ever tell you that? Well, about Tibetan, you know. There was this one Geshe from, I think, London Monastery. And his students, who were graduate students there, but they were also Buddhist practitioners, and they had a house, like a Dharma house in Virginia. And at one point they asked him, "Oh, Rinpoche, you're such a great teacher, and you're so kind, and you really walk your talk. How come you're not a reincarnation?" And he said, "Well, I always wanted to be, but all the good ones were taken." Which is very Tibetan, you know. Every one of the famous monks or siddhas in India, they're all reincarnated in Tibet. But I don't actually really believe that's true. Maybe they are. Although Dalai Lama is counted from Dzongkhapa's time in the 14th, 15th century. The first Dalai Lama was born in 1392 or something, I think. So they counted there, but then he has this long previous incarnation going all the way back to India to the time of Shakyamuni Buddha. So that's why he said all the good ones were taken.
So I did say because there were so many reincarnated lamas, and then also not all the reincarnated lama are acting like how people want it, and then lots of criticisms.
Yeah.
And then some maybe, of course, they are doing making mistakes. Then you can criticize. Some are very little thing. They're still criticizing.
Yeah.
So then I was thinking, people think, you know, they are when people criticizing other people, they are almost thinking they are very pure, and then they have no any faults in their self. So I'm telling people, if anyone wanted to take over Lelung's name, I'm happy to give up my name. But there is a condition. If you have to prove that you are perfect,
Yes.
and I will check your from your birth, school time, college time, university time, every time. So if everything, you know, looks very pure, no mistakes, then you can take Lelung's incarnation.
Yes.
That's what I'm
Very
doing.
nice. Yes, yes.
Anyway, let me add a little bit on the program mechanism. So, I'm doing the program mechanism's work text
Mhm.
at the moment. There are 2 volumes, and doing the proofreading to preparing for the next year to give out the
They're moving it a little
Yeah,
way, I think.
yeah.
Making explosive sound. Yeah.
So I'm reading. Then, as you are saying that when I may not repeat what you already said.
Yeah.
I leave it there. So also that you know program guidance told Lama Tsongkhapa not only not to go to India and stay in Tibet to help out in Tibet.
Yeah.
The students. Many
Yes,
think
right.
you will-
That's what he's
You
saying,
will
yes.
establish better in Tibet and will
Mhm.
help many sentient beings in Tibet. Otherwise, if you go to India, your students will die because of heat, and then you will become an abbot in Bodh Gaya. You will not be able to come back.
Yeah.
So that's what Lama Mechanism told Lama Tsongkhapa. So Lama Tsongkhapa gave up, and then also Lama Tsongkhapa.
Yeah. He just moves it. Because every time you speak, it goes. And they can hear you very well. You just put it really away from your mouth.
I'm speaking a little loud, so you asked me to. So is it okay? Better? So then also Jared Lama Tsongkhapa asked Program Guardians how his future in his lifetime, what type teachings he should be doing and practicing. So also where Lama Tsongkhapa should build the temple,
Yeah.
monastery. So Buddha Guardians told Gande Ukori, Gande where the Gande monastery is. Buddha Guardians told where to build the monastery. Also told Lama Tsongkhapa where what the name of the monastery should be. All the Gande monastery, all that was advised by Buddha Guardians.
Mhm.
Is in the text.
Oh, good idea. Good idea. Yeah, that's right. Just stick on there. Sometimes you screw on it, it just sticks over that thing.
And also should
Okay, is that on? Oh, no.
John, you come here. John, you sit there, it's okay.
No.
You come here.
Please fix that so it stops shooting. Sounds like somebody's hanging on the roof. Move it more to the side so it's right or above.
Yeah. Okay, it's better?
We'll start.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay?
So, that,
What were we
and,
talking
program guidance. Still we're talking about program guidance.
Yeah,
So,
go back now.
program guidance. And then, program guidance, Dzogchen part, Bob already mentioned. Also, from the Lamrim teaching, Lama Tsongkhapa received Lamrim lineage from Program guidance. So therefore, in the Lamrim lineage prayer, Thurman that comes again and again because there were there are 3 or 4 streams lineage, so that 2 of them lineage received from Thurman. Anyhow, then because Thurman was able to speak to Vajrapani directly, like a human to human. So he have received many of the teachings as well as loads of advice, what should be done in Tibet, how to help flourishing the Dharma and sentient beings.
Mm-hmm.
So then all this week, because of that, Thurman's teaching is called whisper teaching of Vajrapani. So this lineage is still alive, and there are lots of deities, many different deities. The lineage is still alive, and also Thurman's text, his work, that hearing from the Vajrapani, the 2 volumes still lineage, oral transmission lineage is there, so which is very nice.
Yeah.
And then your
So you in this life have collected very beautifully the huge library of all your previous incarnations of everything they wrote. I mean, how many volumes is it now?
so far around 50 volumes.
150?
No, 50.
50 volumes.
50 volumes.
So that's wonderful.
So
That's really wonderful. Nowadays, people are working, we are working, not Tibet House, but Institute of Buddhist Studies in America, with some other people to try to translate Danger and Conjure with AI. You know, so there will be more, that we're going to make more rapid things, so we should, your Sumbo should be also collected like that, should be translated and made available, within your lifetime, I think, because you're much younger than me.
that's
So
the down the
within your
line.
lifetime, it will all be translated, which will be wonderful.
Yeah.
Because Dzongkhapa teaching, Dzongkhapa is kind of unique in that his teaching is very rational and scientific. It gets into these so-called mystical areas of the subtle body and the reincarnation process and all this very complicated psychological thing. And it's very, very like that. The other thing, in what we were talking about, where he and Dzongkhapa are meeting, and when he teaches, Dzongkhapa sees him as Vajrapani, and when Dzongkhapa teaches, he sees Dzongkhapa as Manjushri. So people might be puzzled about this kind of visionary thing being sort of mixed in with all the history of Tibet. And this is a problem for Westerners. And especially the idea of what's called Nirmana Kaya, or Trul Ku, even when he's the Rinpoche is what's called a Trul Ku. That means an emanation body of Vajrapani. And so in the line of the Lelung Rinpoche. But what people don't realize is that in the Indian Buddhist thing as well as the Tibetan, the sort of stage of enlightenment of a being who becomes like Buddha, they can be many bodies at the same time. So one person can be many people. And because of the Western thing, where Jesus is supposedly the Son of God, and that he's the only one, and then they only find him, it's Western people find it very difficult. I remember I was translating for one of your colleagues, Serko Rinpoche, the previous line. He was in a theological, interreligious dialogue situation. And he was asking one Protestant theologian, how come you have your God is omnipotent, right? I think I would say yes. He said, well, but then why did he only have one son at one time in one country? Well, and then he gave a long explanation about the Logos. And then this old Lama said, well, how many children do you have? And they said, I have 4. But you have 4, but thou can only have 1. And then he went back and forth like that. So he couldn't quite, the Tibetan guy, the elderly Tibetan Lama, couldn't quite get why the guy was stuck. That omnipotent God couldn't manifest more beings to help beings than ones. You know? And so then the guy still couldn't break through in the dialogue. So finally he mutters to me in Tibetan, I guess the old boy only had one bullet in there. I had to try to suppress. I burst out laughing a little bit. I put it up and then and they said, "What did he say?" And I said, "Well, maybe the one logos idea is okay or something. You know, I tried to make it nice. You know. But the point is that nowadays we can open our minds to the idea. And I had a colleague who was an English Catholic, Episcopalian, in New York, a big, huge cathedral, St. John the Divine, up near Columbia University. And he used to go around saying, God has absolute power. He can have any number of religions that he wants to. We can't prevent him from doing so. He used to say that, in trying to be ecumenical, you know what I mean? So I think any other kind of device like that, theological device, is helpful. But anyway, I'm not promoting anyone to the other. I'm just saying that to understand the Tibetan world, you have to understand that the Tibetans think there's a lot of helpful people out there. A lot of beings, it's not just one, there's many beings that might help you. And there's a very amazing thing they say, for example, you have a guru, and you have to depend on, if you have a good guru, you depend on the good guru if you're a practitioner in some way. But on the other hand, your inner guru is your own intelligence, and it's your own compassion. That's your inner guru. So in other words, you're teaching yourself, and the good guru knows that they can only be like a coach, like in a football team, and the coach tells the inside forward, I'm talking English football, inside forward, and the right wing, and the left wing, and the center forward, and blah, blah, blah. They can teach them how to do it, and how to pass the ball, etc., and get the goal. But they can't go out and do it themselves, So the coach has to then sit on the side, and then the players have to play the game themselves, right? So it's like that. The Buddha was like that. He said, don't just believe what I say, just like it, and repeat it, and then think that's it. I'm just coaching you to how you can find all this ability in yourself, of the wisdom and the compassion and faith and ethics and so on. This kind of way, right? So I think that's very important to understand. Unless I was thinking the name Manjushri, for example, who's supposed to be the Bodhisattva of wisdom. Manjushri. Manju means gentle. So that means that Manjushri must talk in a very soft voice. I don't know it, not necessarily. But I believe the reason it means gentle, why they call the one who teaches about sort of science, Buddhist science, is that the listener knows themselves. They have inner wisdom, their inner Manjushri. Everybody's inner Manjushri is their inner intelligence. And people kind of know what's going on themselves if they really listen to themselves, become aware of themselves. They know that it's better not to get mad. They know it's better not to be greedy. They know it's better to be happy and not depressed. They know that, but they don't necessarily pay attention to their deeper knowing. So the gentle of his voice means that it resonates with what your intelligence already tells you, if you follow me. Do you understand? Does that make sense? So on the other hand, Majapani is very powerful. You have to be very scared of Majapani.
I'm telling our...
what?
I'm telling our...
But you have a very Manjushri voice. I'm a bit deaf. I'm a little deaf, and I actually don't have the best hearing aid. I mistakenly put the less good hearing aid on today. And he has a very quiet voice usually. So when my hearing aid isn't working, I thought about 10 years ago that I was getting really enlightened because the world was getting really quiet. And then suddenly I discovered I was just going deaf. And now I'm hearing it, but this one is not very good. So you have a lot of Manjushri in you, I think so.
I'm telling people that the Buddha did not create Buddhism,
Yes.
but Buddha discovered Buddhism.
Yes.
So that's what I'm telling people. So
Discovering.
Discovering.
Yeah.
Like the Buddhism is based on reality, the truth. So Buddha, when he became enlightened, he realized truth,
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
truth of everything. So he become enlightened.
Yes.
So he's telling people what it is.
Yes.
Not like something a person just wanted to create something, then making cake or something creation. Not
Yes.
like that.
Yes. Yes.
And then that, as you are
That's
saying,
right.
that science. So the Buddhism is based on the science.
Yes.
I'm telling people based on the science, and then after the science, then you have a philosophy.
Yes.
Then when you practice that philosophy, then very regularly, then it become like a religion.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why in Buddhism we talk about science and inner science, if you like, inner science.
Yes, inner science,
Yeah,
right.
and then
Spiritual science.
yeah, spiritual science, if you like, and then philosophy, and then religion.
Yeah.
So I'm telling about philosophy.
Yes.
I'm telling people we should share the philosophy
Yes.
so that we can all use
Yes.
saying that Buddhist philosophy is as if you are mentioning earlier about menu in a restaurant. So if you eat pizza, you doesn't mean you become Italian.
Yes.
If you eat noodle, doesn't mean you become a Chinese or Japanese.
Yes.
If you eat tamba, doesn't mean you become a Tibetan. So, however, when you eat, it does the job. It fulfills, and you can still go on doing other job because you are full.
Yes.
That the food does.
Yes.
Likewise, Buddhist philosophy, if you use, then if you study and learn and use, it doesn't mean you become a Buddhist, but you still can use wherever you go. So that's what I'm telling people.
So Buddha is, Buddha is based on, this is a very important point. There's been a lot of misunderstanding about Buddhism in the West because of what's called the Four Noble Truths, which was Buddha's basic framework of teaching, which actually is a kind of medical diagnosis rather than a religious doctrine or something, actually the Buddhist form. I changed the name of the Four Noble Truths in English to the Four Friendly, Fun Facts. Because why? The word noble we associate with somebody snobby. Noble, like some high lord or something, So why would we want to listen to some noble person about the nature of reality, In Buddha's time, he took the word for higher class, noble, in India, and he gave a new definition. And he said, who is noble is a person who has empathy, who has developed a different level of cognition, where they sort of read other people's minds. Not completely, but they sort of know what other people are feeling and thinking, if you follow me. So they have empathy, they're sensitive to what they're, so therefore, when they do something hurtful to another person, they don't want to do that because the other person, they feel the other person feeling unhappy. You follow me? That's called empathy. That's why, by the way, among politicians, always elect comedians. Because comedians have to be empathetic to get a laugh. So they're not like reality show actors who are just narcissistic and crazy, like we have in America now. Where they're not empathetic about other people. You follow me? Comedians have to be a bit empathetic. So that's why the leader of the free world today is a comedian in Ukraine. In fact, if you know, I don't know. But that's a side, that's a footnote. So the point is that the noble meant someone who, we have the idea of noblesse oblige, where the noble person cares for the person, their subjects. But Buddha changed it where the person who feels the feeling of other people will be friendly to them. It really, actually, really cares about them, so that's your friend. When you have a friend, that means they care about you, right? You assume, and you hope so. So that's friendly instead of noble in English. And then truth, we wrongly think that's something you're supposed to believe in. But a fact is something you just encounter and you have to deal with, right? So, in fact, of the 4 friendly, fun facts, you're supposed to face the first one and admit to some problems, you know. And then it's like any diagnosis, you get a medical diagnosis, you have a problem, then you're going to look for therapy, for a cure, right? It doesn't mean you believe in your sickness, you face it, and then you're going to try to do something about it, you follow me? So the people have fastened on that about Buddhism, and for example, Pope John Paul, in a book that he wrote called On Faith, he wrote in there that he couldn't understand how people could be Buddhist and just decide to live in misery all the time. Poor people, he thought. Meanwhile, he was really happy in the Vatican with his red loafers and his whole thing, nice outfits. So why would people want to live and be miserable? But that's totally wrong. You know, it's a medical diagnosis. Buddha was saying simply that if you think you are the best person and the only important person in the world, you're the center of your world, then everybody else in the world is going to disagree with you. Mom might think so when you're just a baby during the mother's gold era, when you're just been born. She might think that the most, oh wow, I love the baby. And if you're in love, your sweetheart for the honeymoon. But after that, you know, everybody knows that if they think they're special, the most special, other people will not agree. So that means you will struggle with other people. Not like right here in this room. Everybody here, I came to hear this talk. I'm the person here listening to the talk. I'm giving the talk. Rivers is giving the talk. So I'm the main thing that's going on here. Of course, I'm polite and after you, and I listen to the other one. But actually, each person thinks they're the main person in the room. So each person is a little nervous about everybody else because they know that everybody else is there. So if you get over-focused on yourself, over self-centered, you're going to have frustration because everybody else is equally self-centered, and that's a very, right? Here in England, you have Hobbes' war of all against all, you know, insoluble problem in society. So he just said that's the problem people have. Buddha noticed that. Then he said that's because you don't really look into who you are and the fact that you are interconnected with everybody else. And you're made of what you learn from others and your relationships with them, and you're totally interconnected. But you wrongly think you're sort of this main thing separate from everybody. That's what you think. But then his prognosis is the third friendly, most funnest fact, which is nirvana. And nirvana means when you overcome that excessive self-centeredness and realize your connectedness with other beings, and that they are in a way that you're interwoven with them in some way. I mean, that doesn't mean you have to go molest them or bother them. It just means that your difference is not extreme, it's not absolute, it's just a relational, and you can be responsible about that. And then once you do that, everything is happiness. And then you have nirvana. So Buddha's prognosis is really good. And then the fourth friendly fun fact is, there's a curriculum of education of your intelligence, your ethical behavior, and your meditational, your ability to control your emotions and your attention and your concentration. So you can put your mind where you want it to be, rather than just be distracted by Instagram all day long or whatever, you know, scrolling through life, you know. And that's a beautiful education system, right? Which you have, of course, here in your center. You've been teaching for years. And what they teach in the monasteries. The monasteries are just so people can teach, you know, can just only do that study and only do that teaching, sort of more focused, supported by the other people in the society, of course, who prefer to put all the people there to learn how to be less self-centered. That's the purpose of the whole thing. It's, you know, it's all very good to tell people to be altruistic, to be kind to others. The question is how to do it. And the best way of how to do it is realize we're all in together. When everybody else is happy, we'll be happy. So we should do our best to make other people happy. Right? Does that make sense? And that's all it is, you know, which is the same as Christianity, the same as Islam. All the world religions have the same thing. The ones that have lasted have the same basic effort. And where Buddhism is very helpful without changing from Christianity or Islam or Judaism, whatever it is. Actually, Judaism is best because they don't try to convert you unless you marry them. They leave you alone. But Dalai Lama really likes the rabbis there. But so the point is that we can learn methods from the Indian psychologies about more also the meditation side. You know. Christian monks used to have it, but after Protestantism, they kind of lost the idea that you could really change your own mind by really educating yourself and using meditation. But if you do meditation without learning, it won't be helpful. Actually, if you meditate too much without learning about this issue about the self and the self-centeredness, then we've noticed a few people who meditated a lot, and at the end of 20 years of serious meditating, they jump up and they say, "Eureka, I figured it out now. I'm the greatest." I'm the big shot. And they're a pain in the neck. Totally. Rather than enlightened, they're a pain in the neck. That kind of people. And there's been a lot of cases of that, so you know what I'm talking about. But the Buddha, it's like, don't listen to me. If it doesn't make sense, you say, what's the Buddha says, right? Yes. He tells the monks, he says, the wise person should listen to something and put it into implementation in their intelligence and with their practical experiment. And if it works well, they should accept it. And if it doesn't, like a goldsmith goes to the market and they don't buy gold until they've melted it, rubbed it on a touchstone, and cut it up to see if it's real gold. And then they'll buy that gold. So he says that's how you should listen to teachers. Don't just listen to whatever they say and just repeat it because they have a pedigree, or they have a PhD, or they're a professor at Oxford, or they're a Lama, or they're a Roshi, or they're whatever they are, priest, whatever. It has to make sense to you. Buddha always said that, yes. Right? Lelung, That's it. Yeah, that's it. You start with the Tibetan verse. Just
so I'm also our meditation section. Monday evenings we do meditation section. Then we end up talking all the time, and then I tell people do the meditation at home. So the reason is, as Bob is telling us, that without learning the technique, without learning all the ingredients, the why and how the mind is disturbed. If we don't learn the roots, what is disturbing us, then if we cannot remove those roots, then it always comes back. When you are into the meditation, you close your eyes or maybe sitting half an hour. As long as you come out from the meditation room, you again same back to normal, and maybe stressed, angry, depressed, whatever. So therefore, as Bob is also saying, that it is important to learn why our mind is disturbed, how to train our mind. After learning that, when we do the meditation, then it helps tremendously.
Mm-hmm. So that's the thing. So the 4 friendly fun facts. And as I say, the fun is that this is nirvana, ultimately. Of those 4 friendly fun facts, later commentators will tell you, either Indian or Tibetan, that only the 3rd one is real reality. The suffering side, and the education side, and the diagnosis side, is all of it is a little bit dreamlike. It's like life is a dream, la vida es sueño. A little bit life is a dream. In other words, things are not quite what they seem like when you're in a dream. It doesn't mean they're unreal completely, but it means they have a kind of lesser reality. The suffering and even the process of curing it. And because the good thing is the default reality, the underlying reality, the substantial reality, which is absolutely confirmable and stable, is nirvana, actually. It's very clear. And that's really very reassuring, And I feel this is very important for us in the West. But it isn't just in the West, it's also in Asia. Because in human history, as recorded, all of the societies, including China and India and wherever, they have been run by people, militarized countries, patriarchal countries, where the women are not really given equality, and men are deciding. And as you know, the solution to every problem for men, on the very basic level, is attack, aggression. You know, and like boom, you know, that's the male chauvinist routine, and they're all militarized. So nobody really wants to fight, you know. People want to have dinner and be friendly, you know, really, and make love, not war. You know what I mean? That's what people want. And so this fourth thing involves making theories about reality, whether religious or scientific, that make people afraid of reality. You know, the authoritarian social thing is you should be really scared of life because we'll protect you. You know, join our army and then you will be the tomb of the unknown soldier. Lose your husband and your son to the war, the ladies, and you know, they'll all be sanctified, you know, and you'll be a saint, you know, this kind of thing. So they purposely scare us that the background of life is dangerous. Even they have God is good, but then if you don't believe the right thing, then they have hell waiting for you, so you're a little bit scared, you might get mad at you, you know. So what Buddha has had durable success in the world and popularity because he's basically discovered that even you die, if you have generosity in your soul, if you have love in your soul, the universe will embrace you. You'll be in what we call clear light of the void, like transparency, like infinite energy, underlying everything. So if you really let go, give it all away, you'll be taken care of. Just like those who believe God is good, they will, you know, in history they would sacrifice themselves, you know, because they feel that even they lose their body, that's not the end of them. They're embraced by the loving power of the universe. Love is more powerful than domination or violence. In other words, it's a vision like that. And I think that's really important to people to not be scared of reality. Because reality is holding us. The word dharma means that which holds you. And we are held in reality. And if that default reality is good, in case you kind of have to let it all go, you're not that scared. And you know, everybody does have to let it all go at some point. You realize that. I'm sorry to say. That means when you die. That means you have to let go of your senses, you let go of your body, you can't grab anything, you can't wear it, you can't take your suit with you can't take your cane with you can't take your shoes with you just let go. And actually then if you're really scared that I'm going to let go, something horrible might happen to me, then you're going to live in a very stressed way. But even if you're wrong, but actually from Buddha's point of view, there's a lot of proof that it's correct. That this world couldn't exist the way it is. We humans would have messed it up a long time ago with our stupid behaviors if it wasn't built in some kind of all-embracing power and energy and safety, in which we have this funny experiment of life, and we fool around in it, and we do kind of amazing things. And then we may come to a point where the women and the men are equal. And that's what I see. People ask me, since you were tired, and you said, are you practicing the Dharma? But I say, yes, I am trying to practice being spiritual. What is your main practice? They say. And I say, my main practice after 58 years of marriage is trying to learn to listen to my wife. And she's not satisfied with the degree to which I do it. Although she admits I've made some progress. She does. And so that's the thing, you know. That's where we could be. You know, it's general, so it's Mrs. Putin. If she had said, oh, Vlad, dear, I really don't think it's going to help the people of Russia to go and have a horrible war with the Ukrainians. oh, by the way, always win most of the wrestling contests and this and that. And they build most of the nukes and the drones and everything. They're really tough people, you know. Why are we going to fight with them? They speak Russian. So what is it? I think, Vlad, let's go catch a fish in Siberia instead. Why don't we let's go fishing? He likes to fish up, and they have long fish in those big lakes in Siberia. Let's go there. Instead of trying to catch Zelensky, he'll never catch a comedian. Imagine if he listened to Mrs. Putin. Instead that he divorced Mrs. Putin, ran around, found some teenage girl to make him feel important, and he's wasting and destroying the resources of Russia for no good reason. And many people are losing their lives. More Russians than afraid of his own afraid. And now North Korea. So he didn't listen to the men have to listen. Don't you think? What do you think, ladies? Do you agree with me?
Yeah,
And the lamas are nice. You see, Tibetans translated guru in a brilliant way. You know what lama means? It's not guru in Sanskrit has a kind of connotation of something. Actually, it is the word for weight, heaviness. You know, W-E-I-G-H-T, weight. So someone heavy, like a father, you know, like a authority. Guru, a little bit, but it's also very good in spiritual terms. But it does have a little that connotation. So Buddhists, Tibetans didn't come up with some word for heavy. They said lama. And lama's like a mama. But it's sort of like a new lama, a new mama, and a new papa. You know, and then they were mostly monks, and they're sort of, therefore ungendered. You know what I mean? They're like kind of like that. And so, it means someone you can't get beyond, you can't get away from. The lama means. So it's like someone, once you encounter them, then kind of, you know, but they have to tell you a good one. It resonates with you, and it sticks with you, you know. So you get stuck on it. There's a cartoon in America called Tar Baby. It goes on some Pogo or something, some comic. You probably don't know it here in England. But he irritates everybody, Tar Baby. So people try to throw him away. But when they touch him, they get stuck on him. He's made of tar. So Lama is a nice idea. And it's like it helps you meet yourself. You know, it's a teacher who causes you to meet yourself. And if you really look at yourself, and this is now my wife talking, and she tells me that you should always tell everybody. If you really meet yourself, you're a human being, and so really, you're really good. You are a good being. You're not a sinner, original sinner. You're not a bad, whatever it is. Even, you may be confused and doing wrong things, but you're really good. Human being is kind of good, you know. Like we don't have claws. We have kind of fingernails that break all too easily. We don't have fangs. We have dinky little teeth that they constantly drilling when we eat too much sweets. You know? We have soft skin. We don't have scales or spikes. You know, like. So we are really good. Human beings, all of us. We're sensitive and vulnerable. Don't hurt. And then but we are capable of experiencing a caress on the other hand. Gently. Imagine, you know, my wife hates it if I say that. Imagine crocodile caresses. It's like chalk on a blackboard. Yeah. So you're really good. Everyone here is really good. And especially those of you who heard Rinpoche Sangha, his community. You're really good. Rinpoche is really good. Shide organization is peace and happiness. Really good. Really. Okay, that's what Buddha has to say. Not suffering. If you want to be an idiot, you're going to have a hard time. That's all. That's all suffering means. You know, and we look at them. We have them on TV every day. The idiots. I'm going to attack someone. Really? And then the people around them, and they're talking, I'm the greatest and the best. You know, we have it in America. You guys are lucky, you know. And then I'm the greatest and the best. And other people standing next to them, they're looking at it like, what? Then they have to flatter everybody else. It's completely crap. The criminals are the law in America now. And then people unfortunately don't have masks, and they jump on you, drag you off, put you in a cage. It's completely cracked, which means it's the prelude to a really great time on Earth, where we're going to all be happy. I'm telling you, but I don't know how long it takes to grow. Okay? So, but the more that the shide.org or whatever the shide, what's that second part?
Shide peace.
What?
Shide peace.
Peace.
Yeah.
Shide-peace. Shide-peace.org. That's what we need, okay? Worldwide, all right? Are you agreeing with that?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Thank you, everything. Thank you. Okay. That's all right. I'm happy to be a free PR consultant. Because I believe it. I do. I'm sincere. I really am. Okay?
Yeah, but
What do you think, Bruno? Are you happy? Yeah. Yeah, Marianta, you're happy. David is happy. That's the thing. Should, be happy. By the way, Dalai Lama beautifully said one thing, his Holiness. He says, when I get depressed, this is very useful for you. He says, when I get depressed, really upset, and this is a guy who's been in exile for 70 years, and his people tortured and tormented on and off in a very bad way. And although he sees some positive things, but still really pretty rough. So he says, when I get really depressed, it's compassion that saves me. And this is psychologically really interesting. Well, that doesn't make sense, actually, if you think about it at first. Because compassion is being sensitive to the suffering of other people. So if you're depressed, and then you add to it being sensitive to other people's suffering, why would that cheer you up? But if you think about it, he said, and then he explains it, he says, because I'm depressed because whatever has happened, it's like, to me, it's huge, it's the only thing that's happened in the world, and it's so awful, and I'm really freaked out. It's like when you lose an election to an insane moron, you really feel freaked out. So, but then, as I'm thinking about it, I think of like, what it's meaning to everybody else, and how other people are reacting to this terrible thing. And you go more and more, so it's kind of a weird transformation of schadenfreude, you know that, where you feel happy when someone else is miserable? So it isn't that, you just expand it where you feel how much other people are suffering. And the more you do, the smaller and smaller your own suffering becomes in relation to that. Until finally, what's really more important is the many sufferings of the many other people that you think about. And when you think about that, all of it is suffering in a way like very wide, far from being fatigued, you realize that if I just stay depressed, I have no energy to help anybody. Only when I cheer up do I feel energy. When I get something done, it's when zing, zing. When I serve and it hits the thing, just whack, and I feel kind of an ecstasy because I've disciplined myself and trained and practiced, and it just goes, And then I have a kind of joy. And because when your life force asserts itself, what your life force is your inner joy. So that's when you can really do something about any difficult situation, when you're joyful. So if you're depressed, you have no strength, no energy. But when you're feeling joyful, you can do a quadruple axel if you're a figure skater. Or you can win a tournament if you're a tennis player, or whatever it is. So that's what he means by compassion saves me from being depressed, keeps me hopeful, optimistic, and so that's the thing. The joyous people, led by the comedians, are going to take care of the weirdos who are causing the destruction. Okay? You got it? Thank you. That's all I have to say.
I'm telling people that we were born, when we were born, we are born with crying, but we don't need to die with crying.
Yes.
So we can work on it. So if you learned philosophy and loving compassion, if you grow loving compassion in your heart,
Yes.
We can grant it that when you're dying, you can die with happiness.
Yes.
still positive way.
Yes.
Without crying. That's why I'm telling people we were born with crying, but we don't need to not necessarily die with crying.
That's right. That's right. Yes, we should die happy. That's what I say. It's our duty. This is written in my book, Why the Dollar Matters. At the end, I was challenged by a woman who was the publisher of Simon & Schuster at that time to give some points of hope, but I ended up that it is our duty to be so happy that even if they kill us, we'll die happy. I know it's a terrible thing to say, but I enjoy saying it anyway. I really do. And by the way, I have to do a little PR thing, which is on Saturday and Sunday of the coming weekend. We are doing something that we a little bit invented called Vajra Yoga, which is non-sectarian, non-religious yoga practice using Tibetan Tulkur mixed with Hatha Yoga, Indian yoga. So developing like positive, joyful, bodily action and mental also vision, sustained for 2-3 hour sessions a day, Saturday and Sunday. So we're looking for 10 more people. We've almost got a full house. Some of we've got half a house or 2/3 of the house. So we're looking for that. So try to look it up online. I forgot how you can look it up online. Oh, there's a flyer over here. If any yogis or yoginis are interested, there is a flyer over here. And I always forget to do a big plug for myself, but today I'm doing it. You're inspiring me. And this is the happy Lama, the happy Dalai Lama. They're all happy actually. But he was happy in a way that human, ordinary lay people understand. Because everybody thinks monks, by the way, are sort of grisly and miserable, and they're monks, they're nuns, but they should be.
Some year ago,
But actually, they're very cheery. Tibetan monks are very cheery. Look, those 2 monks over there. They're really cheery. They're really happy. Because sometimes it's all right on Saturday night when you don't have to run after a date. You can just meditate and be happy yourself, by yourself. So that people are surprised because we have this idea, that the Protestant idea that the monk is always miserable or the nun. But these monks and nuns are cheery, are you kidding? They don't need to hire babysitters and this and that, they don't need to pay tuition, they just sit there and they're happy. Cheery, all the time. Actually in India you don't say ordained. In ancient Buddhist language, when you become a monk, they say graduated into a more free kind of way of living. That's why when I was young, I wanted to be a monk. When I discovered Tibetan Buddhism, desperately. And my old guru said, wait a minute, Tibet is destroyed by modernity. There's no more monastery here. You don't have a monastery in Europe. Why do you want to be a monk? And I insisted. But anyway, finally I learned my lesson. And I've been in the monastery of the family. And now I'm still learning after 58 years how to try that. Not be a wasp. Anyway, thank you all very much and have a great evening. And I'm a little jet lagged or whatever, but I won't go over it. Okay?
So,
Lotus.
I hope that Bob comes over again and again.
Yes.
And our invitation is there. Last time when I was in America, then when I was leaving, I had very heavy duty, if you like. Not only studying what I'm giving the teaching, and also I need to study the language, the vocabulary, because I need to give the teaching in English. I was, when I accepted, I thought, okay, I do it because Bob is there, so I always can rely on him. So then when we were talking about, when I'm trying to ask him something, then he said, la. So I couldn't communicate at the time. So then the next day I studied quite a lot, how to make sense to people. And then we did a 1 week. Was it a 1 week long teaching? And after the teaching, I was jumping on the car. Then Bob said, Rinpoche, you must come back next year, this and that. Then I thought, oh, again, as soon as I'm relieved from what I promised, then he's already giving me the next year job. I didn't say yes straight away. Bob said, are you not happy with me?
So you're going to check. I'm going to give it back to you.
Yeah.
Can I put it on?
Yeah.
You do the Rama. I put it on. It says put back. So you're sent to the sheet. Thank you. It's too late, yeah. You have too much to do right now.
So
Just kidding.
the
Sorry, I can't give this to you.
That's fine.
But I will send you one.
yeah, sure.
I promise.
That
We probably should have read it for our thing. Very fun.
so I want to thank you that you are working on preserving Buddhism
Yes.
and promoting Buddhism, as well as philosophy and everything.
Yes.
And thank you for your hard work, and you always trying to promote His Holiness the Lelung's affordable commitment.
Yeah.
And I'm here also trying to do a little bit in my own way.
Yeah.
So we are working side by
Because we
side.
didn't discuss those four noble commitments. As a human being,
Yes,
as a monk,
Yeah.
as a guest of India, and as a Tibetan.
Yeah.
Those four.
So that's the.
But we all know that.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for coming.
When you coming back to Manila?
When you say
Tibet House in the Sea.
next year.
Next time. 2026 is the 700th anniversary.
Yeah. You able to come?
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
So you talked about.
Depends, you know. I'm very old and lazy, but I'd be happy to try. Sure. And next time we come.
You are in the first list. Your name is in the first list in the
Okay.
invitation.
All right. I'll try to come alive.
All right.